Thank you for tuning in to Tamara for Georgia. I am Tamara Johnson Shealey, your candidate for the United States Senate. I'm an independent Democrat that believes that reparations will make America great. It is time that we unite our country once and for all. Please go to my website. It's tamaraforgeorgia.com. And please join me every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here for Tamara for Georgia. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is a beautiful, sunny Saturday morning here in the ATL. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. I see you chiming in, family. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to get this conversation started. My guest is here, y'all. We're going to be talking about how to make money. You know, we're all, looking at where we are with our finances, and we talk about money. We talk about reparations. But we're going to talk this morning about how to make money. And my guest, Miss Kim Scouller. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for joining me, Kim.
It's a great pleasure to be here.
Yes. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I'm going to share this screen because Kim is a part of an initiative. Let me share my screen. Kim here. There it is. How money works. Go ahead, Kim. Take it away.
So thank you so much. So my name is Kim Scouller, and by education, I'm an attorney. I've actually been practicing law for over 35 years. I've been in the Atlanta area since 2002. So most of my career, I've served as in-house counsel for the Transamerica companies in the United States, which is how I ended up in this beautiful city. The company ended up acquiring another company based here, and I was very honored to serve as the president of that company for several years. But because of travel, I ended up leaving the corporate side and starting my own business, my own law firm, and my own financial business. And I felt this really great need for financial literacy, to really raise the bar of financial literacy in this country. No matter, what your background is, your socioeconomic level is, no matter what it is, where you come, how you present yourself to the world, people need to know how money works. And unfortunately, it's not taught in schools. I think only 17 states require a personal finance class in high school. So there's a real need in our school system. There's a real need for this kind of education for parents, for professionals, for employees, for business owners to understand how money works. Because Tamara, I made it all the way to the top of the corporate ladder inside of Transamerica, and I did not know how money works. I was spending way too much based on the amount of money I was making. And so I wasn't putting enough away. I was essentially living paycheck to paycheck. And I want to change that for a lot of people, but I think it all starts with financial literacy, getting that financial education.
You said a mouthful right there, Kim, that, so many of us, we wake up, we pay bills, and we try to live in the midst of it. And then, we're just trying to survive, and we're just going day to day. So yeah, I'm with you, Kim. doing more than what you should be doing, with the
Exactly.
little money you do have.
Well, and most of us, we learn about money from our parents or grandparents or, whoever was in our life, kind of raising us some basic principles. So, if your parent or grandparent had just a spending mentality, or if your parent or grandparent had a scarcity mentality, you kind of grew up with that. So I think it's just real important for us all to get educated so we can make informed decisions about our money.
Well, where do we begin with you, Kim?
So,
I'll let you lead the way here.
you would put on the book on the screen, you had shared a picture from the book How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. So this is a book that came out in 2019. The authors are Tom Matthews and Steve Siebold, both who live here in the Atlanta area and are business partners of mine. Since then, the book has been distributed to over 500,000 people. So it's the number one personal finance book in 2020 and in 2021. The book covers basic financial principles and the 7 money milestones. So, 3 principles. The first one is the power of compound interest. It and it's interesting. Let me backtrack just a little bit. A few years ago, Gallup did an international poll. They asked adults all around the world 5 financial literacy questions. If you could answer 3 questions correctly, you passed. 70% of adults in the world could not answer 3 questions correctly. Now, 2 of the questions had to do with compound interest. One had to do with inflation, just very basic principles that, we think we know or we hear out in the world, but we may have not have given a lot of thought to. Now, I'm sure there are people in your audience who understand all of these principles, and I don't want to sound like, talking down to anybody. What I'm saying is, this was a revelation to me, a longtime attorney, president of a large company for Transamerica. And these are principles that I now use when I'm thinking and making decisions about money. So, as I said, 2 of the questions had to do with compound interest. Now, compound interest is fairly simple. It's interest earned on interest. But most people really fall into the category of simple interest earned on principal, as opposed to compound interest. Now, who understands how compound interest works? Financial institutions who loan you money, who give you a mortgage, who give you a car loan, who give you a credit card. Those institutions understand very well how interest on interest is compounding. So it's important we understand how that works. The second financial principle in the book is the time value of money. If we understood that putting a little away when we're younger and doing it consistently, setting up that money habit, that is better than, someone who plops down a large lump sum, when they're much older. In the money game, the tortoise wins every time. So for me, when I was on the corporate side doing well, I was thinking, well, after I pay for this, or after I get that bonus, or when I get my tax refund, I'll put that money away. Stop thinking about these milestones in your life when you're going to start putting money away. Start putting money away now, whether it's a little bit or a medium amount or a lot. When you get into the habit of putting money aside, you will achieve those financial goals that you set for yourself or for your family or for your business, whatever it is. So start now. Make it a habit, whatever amount it is you can start with. The third principle is the rule of 72. Now, most people, even economists, don't understand the rule of 72. And it's this simple. The number 72 divided by your interest rate will give you an approximation of the number of years it will take your money to double. So if you've invested your money in, say, a bank account, now we know bank accounts aren't paying 1%. They're paying like next to nothing. But let's round up and say they are paying 1%. 72 divided by 1 is 72. So whatever money you put in your bank account, it will take you 72 years for that money to double. Now, most banks are paying, I think it's 0.9%. I think that's the average amount. Do you know that 72 divided by 0.9 is 800? 800 years, your money will double under current interest rates being paid by bank accounts. But most people, because they don't understand about money, guess where their money is? It's in the bank account. Their money for those financial goals they're trying to accomplish in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Now, let's try some other interest rates. So 72 divided by, I've got to check my cheat sheet here. Sorry about that. It's too early for me to do math from my head. So
I get it.
and I've only had 2 cups of coffee. So please bear with me.
Yes.
So 72 divided by 3. Say you got your money invested in a certificate of deposit. They, over a long term, they might pay you 3%. 72 divided by 3 is 24. Your money in that certificate of deposit is going to double every 24 years. Maybe you've invested in something that's going to give you 6%. 72 divided by 6 is 12. Your money's going to double every 12 years. 72 divided by 9, if you're getting 9%, is 8. So your money's going to double every 8 years. Maybe you're getting 12% interest. 72 divided by 12 is 6. Your money will double every 6 years. So here's what you can do for me with a calculator. But look at the amount of time you have to accomplish the goal you need and how much money you're able to set aside. By knowing those things, you can calculate how many doubles you need to accomplish your financial goal. So that tells you, you can kind of identify what rate of return you need to accomplish that. So if it's retirement, that may be several years from now. For me, that's about 10 years from now. But for maybe it's to buy a house or maybe a vacation home. Maybe it's for your kids' college education. Whatever it is, look at how much time you've got and the amount of money you've got to set aside and do the calculation so you can see how many how many doubles you need in order to get there. Now, again, Who do you think understands the rule of 72?
The banks.
Banks and financial institutions. So, the average credit card interest rate is about what? 16, 17%? 16 or 17%. Do you know the banks are doubling their money every 4 to 5 years? So the rule of 72 can work against you or it can work for you. Now we know intuitively that a higher interest rate on our credit card is going to be problematic for us. So understanding how problematic, understanding, on your credit card statement, the credit card company will tell you, well, if you pay the minimum amount, this is how many years it'll take to pay off. Or if you pay a little bit higher, maybe double or triple, this is how many years it will take to pay off whatever that credit card debt is. They're applying the rule of 72 to show you, but we just don't understand what those numbers are. They look like kind of random numbers. But understanding exactly how the math is done will help us make much better decisions, not only for our own investments, but for the credit we're out there seeking. Now, when I give this particular lecture, and I've given this talk to a lot of groups, and I've given this talk to a lot of HBCUs in particular, Morehouse, Howard, Claflin, Texas A&M, several students. The number one question I get is, Kim, where on earth am I going to find 9%? Well, the S&P 500, if you look all the way back to when they started tracking it in the early 1900s, actually returns, average annual return is around 9 or 10%. So there are those opportunities out there. Now, I get a lot of questions about a specific stock or gold or crypto or all those kinds of things. And I'm not going to give an opinion one way or the other. You need to do your own homework and decide where you want to invest your money. What I'm going to tell you is start investing, make it a regular habit. Apply those principles of compound interest, the time value of money, and the rule of 72 in order to accomplish your financial goals. But do your homework. There's a lot of information out there. Do your homework, and it starts with how money works stopping a sucker book. And we call the subtitle is Stopping a Sucker because we are because the financial institutions and the bank understand these principles, but most people don't. So if you don't understand them, you're being a sucker. Now, Tamara, I'd like to offer to your audience, if they send you their mailing address and you share that with me, I will mail them a complimentary copy of this book.
Thank you. Yes. So those of you who follow this broadcast, you want a free copy of this book, go to the website, send me your mailing address, and I'll be sure to send it to Miss Kim. So yes, I'm sure there's a lot of people that want it.
Good. I'm very happy to do that.
Yes.
So, that covers the basic financial principles. The second part of the book covers what we call the 7 money milestones. Now, these are the components of a solid financial plan. You are going to need to kind of run a checklist in your head. Have I covered each one of these things? Now, when you're younger, some things are going to be more important. When you're nearing retirement, like I am, other things are going to be more important. But in your head, you're going to need to do the checklist of the 7 money milestones. So the very first milestone is financial education. Educate yourself. Again, there's a lot of great information out there. Go get it. And again, I'm going to send a complimentary copy of this book to those people who share their mailing address. But, online, maybe you've got a trusted mentor, or maybe, a loved one in your life, your partner, your parents, your grandparents, maybe an aunt or uncle, you've noticed have done very well with their money over time. Talk to them, ask them questions, find out get their wisdom, but learn how money works, because this is something that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. And for those parents out there, we are the stewards, we are the educators of the next generation. Just as our parents and grandparents had a great deal of influence on us about how we think and feel about money, our children and grandchildren are going to take those principles with them. I'm just a story that really touched me. An older woman came to me. She was in her 70s. And she said, Kim, I really want to learn how money works. Can you help me? And I said, sure, Terry. She had said to me that she's lived her whole life paycheck to paycheck. She's had a comfortable life, but she's lived paycheck to paycheck. And you all know what kind of stress that is, living paycheck to paycheck. Her now grown son all learned what she did. So her son is living paycheck to paycheck. Her son had a child, and she said it woke her up that her son had learned how to live paycheck to paycheck from her. And now her grandchild was learning how to live paycheck to paycheck from her son. And she wanted to break the cycle. She didn't want any other generation in her family to learn how to live paycheck to paycheck. And so that, to me, is a crusade. That's a mission, not only to make my life and my friends and my generation more, financially literate, but to set up habits and set examples for future generations. My son, who's 25, he can recite the Rule of 72. Believe me, I make him recite it to me on a regular basis so he understands how money works. So financial education is the very first money milestone. The second milestone is proper protection. Now, proper protection is about protecting your income, and it has to do with making sure you've got the right insurance in place, especially if you've got a family who's depending on your income. As a lawyer, I see so many sad situations where the breadwinner of a family passed away suddenly in a car accident or for some other catastrophic event, unexpected event happened. And unfortunately, they never got around to putting life insurance in place, or they let their life insurance lapse. And so their family was struggling with whatever debt was left, whatever obligations were left, to try and put the pieces back together after losing their loved one, but now financial devastation. So making sure that you've got the right life insurance, maybe disability insurance, long-term care insurance is really good and important these days. We're living longer than ever. It's projected if you live to 2030, you are more likely to live to age 120 in your lifetime. I mean, that's just crazy to me. I mean, I hope I live to 2030. I hope you all do too. But that we are going to spend that much time in retirement, that we're going to get to see our great grandchildren and great great grandchildren is mind-blowing. But think about the financial piece of that. We've got to be ever more vigilant to make sure that we've got the money in place to take care of ourselves. Now, we know, my generation, we've got Social Security. I know what Social Security is going to pay me. I can go online, I can do the calculation. They tell me how much I'm going to get in retirement. I don't know what the next generation is going to get or the generation after that. I don't know whether Social Security is going to be around at all. I do know that it's going to have to change. The payments are either going to be smaller, the age to qualify is probably going to be higher. And certainly taxes on all of us are going to be higher. So I know what's going to happen with Social Security is going to be a huge impact. It's going to have a huge impact on us and future generations. So there's more responsibility for even my generation to make sure that we've got enough personal savings to make it to age 120, to make it to living over 100 years old. And generations after me really have to make sure that they put enough savings in place to take care of that. So long-term care, I kind of get on a tangent there, Tamara, sorry about that. So let's bring it back. Milestone number 2, proper protection. I talked about life insurance, long-term care, and the reason I bring that up is there is a 70% chance for people over age 65 that they will need long-term care. Now, a lot of people think, well, long-term care is covered by my health insurance or long-term care is covered by Medicare. It is not. Long-term care are the expenses for assisted living, a nursing home, to have home health aides come in. Medicare and your health insurance cover your medical needs, but home health aid, a nursing home, or assisted living, those aren't technically medical needs, which is why they're not covered by regular medical insurance. So we've got to be thinking about, well, how am I going to cover that? Well, I know so many families, retired parents and grandparents today who did all the right things for retirement. They saved their money, but now one of them is having severe, some health issue, and so they need assisted living or they need a home health aide to come in, and it's eating up all of their retirement money because they did not have long-term care insurance in place. So that is another type of protection that you need to be thinking about, especially when you're young, because it's going to be cheaper, because you're healthier. When you're my age, it's way more expensive. So start looking at it as you're younger. Now, the third money milestone is debt management. And that is making sure that you understand what your debt obligations are so that you can work to minimize them. The first rule is know what you owe. I deal with a lot of clients who, don't even open up a statement, don't go online. They're just so terrified about, the unknown. They don't want to know what the balance is, what the interest rate is. All they want to know is what that minimum payment is. And that's all they're doing every month. And that is a great way to continue living paycheck to paycheck. That's a great way to not being able to accomplish your financial goals. So start with knowledge. Learn, what do I owe? Write it all down. Put it in a spreadsheet. Whatever it is, get that knowledge. Knowledge is power. The second thing that I'll say is no more late payments. It's these dates, one is owes on the 5th and one is on the 17th and one is on the 23rd. No more late payments. It is the best way to rack up late charges and additional interest, compound interest for them, interest on interest. And it's also a great way to ruin your credit score. So make sure you do not make any more late payments, whether it's putting alarms on your phone, maybe doing auto pay, whatever it is, no more late payments. And the third step is put a plan together. So, some people say, pay off the debt with the highest interest rate first. And that makes a lot of sense. And you may want to do it that way. From my experience working with clients, the debt with the highest interest rate is usually the highest debt because of compound interest. It's usually the highest debt. And it's hard for people to build a habit when they don't see the result. So I counsel my clients to start with the debt with the lowest balance, regardless of what the interest rate is, because you will immediately see when you're doubling up payments on that one, you will immediately see it decrease. Once you've got that one down to zero, then start working on the card or the debt with the second highest balance and continue that practice. You will see great results. Not only you having more cash flow to deal with, but also your credit score going up. Because in addition to looking at whether you make your payments on time, a big function of credit score is how much do you owe versus how much debt are lenders willing to give you. So if you've got a credit line or the opportunity to borrow up to 20,000, but you've got debt of 18,000, that's going to negatively impact your credit score. So by working on your debts to get those balances down, however you do it, whether it's high interest rate first or lowest balance first, however you choose to do it, and it's up to you, however you do it, you will see that ratio go down and your credit score go up as a result. Now, the next milestone is emergency fund. Emergency fund is putting away 3 to 6 months of income someplace safe, and this is someplace you can use a bank account because you want that money accessible, and it doesn't really matter how much interest you're earning. That's for emergencies. That's in case your car breaks down, you need a new refrigerator, you need new tires on your car. That's mine. I never planned for that. I don't understand it, how tires can go out so quickly. Or maybe, a deductible. Say, your kid breaks their arm and now you've got the medical deductible to pay. That's what the emergency fund is for. It's not for that fun vacation or, buying that present for somebody. It's for emergencies, true emergencies only. And when you tap it for a valid emergency, then you've got to work to build it back up. Now, I get a few questions when I talk about emergency fund. One of the questions is, Kim, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. There's no extra. I don't know how I'm going to come up with that money to put in the emergency fund. And the advice I come up with, or what I recommend is, well, let's look at what you're spending money on. No judgment, absolutely no judgment, because I'm guilty of lattes. That's my weakness. That and shoes are my weakness. We all have them. So absolutely no judgment. But let's look at where you're spending your money. And let's find ways to economize, to save money in different places. Now, one of the places that I have found people can certainly economize, and this goes back to knowledge, understanding what you're doing. Subscriptions. What are you subscribing to? Look at your credit card statements or your bank statements. Netflix, Prime, Hulu, maybe games, music, streaming services, whatever it is you're subscribing to. Maybe you don't absolutely need all of them. Maybe there are some ways that you can economize with subscriptions. But people will say to me, Kim, it's like $9.99 a month, or it's $4.99 a month, or it's $100 a year. What are you talking about? But when you add those up, you will find, swear to God, an extra few $100 every year that you could be setting aside. Now, for me, my weakness is lattes and shoes. When I look at how I'm spending on lattes, it can't be one a day. I would love to get a $5 latte every day, but economically, that's not the right move for me. So I treat myself once a week, $5 latte a week. And the other 6 days, I save that $30 and put that aside. So there are things that we can do, even to put as like $30 a week away, to put your emergency fund together. And once you get in that regular habit, you will accomplish that goal. The other thing that I'll say is, if you are living paycheck to paycheck, having an emergency fund in place is the number one way you can stop living paycheck to paycheck. Because what happens when an emergency happens? You put it on a credit card, right? You borrow the money to pay for those tires or to pay for the medical deductible, and you go deeper in debt. You end up living more or longer paycheck to paycheck because you can't take care of an emergency. Now, there was a survey done a couple of years ago that found that the majority of Americans could not come up with $400 if they had one hit, if an emergency came up. Now, ask yourself, if you had a $400 emergency come up, whatever it is, could you make that payment without it impacting something else in your life, like going into debt or borrowing from your retirement, some other financial goal you've got out there? And if that's the case, you really need to buckle down on that emergency fund. For me, after financial education, the second thing I counsel clients, I work with a lot of women who are starting over. For whatever reason, they're starting over. The number one thing after education is, let's get that emergency fund in place. And then we look at debt management. And then we look at proper protection. It's one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and your family. Now, the next thing, number 5, is cash flow. And it all goes back to knowledge. Knowledge is power. So understanding what money is coming into my household. So, if you've got a job, it's your paycheck. If you've got investments, maybe it's the dividends or whatever you're earning on those investments. Maybe it's you've got a side gig, or you own a business. Whatever it is, write down what money is coming into your household, and then look at, are there opportunities to bring more money into my household? Now, I have a few different income streams, and I counsel women in particular, everybody really, multiple streams of income. Because if something happens, like a pandemic, and you lose your job or you got to reduce your hours, what's going to happen if you only have one stream of income coming in? So set up multiple streams of income. If you've got a job, that's great. You love your work, that's great. Start a business or start investing. Find another stream of income that's going to bring in income if something happens to that job. I own my law firm. I own my financial business, and I'm an investor. Those are 3 ways that I've got income coming in to my house. Now, I work with a lot of people who, have jobs or businesses, or they're stay-at-home parents, they're homeschooling, whatever it is, that's fine. But they found a way either to a business or investment, like real estate. They flip houses, or they, whatever it is, they build up a portfolio of investments that is also kind of a business to them over time that generates a regular income for them. And most people I work with in my line of work, it's real estate. Now, I help people with their other investments. I don't know anything about real estate, but I know for a lot of people, investing in real estate has been a way for them to create an additional and solid income stream for themselves. Now, I'm not recommending it one way or the other, but I am saying, if you want to learn about real estate or any other investment or business opportunity, do your homework. Now, there are a lot of opportunities out there to start businesses online. The internet And especially with the pandemic, I never bought things online. I'm kind of old school. I like to go into the store and I like to touch and feel and try on and, just have that physical experience. But with the pandemic, I couldn't do that anymore. So I had to learn how to buy online. My generation and all generations now, because of the pandemic, know how to buy things online. So if you've got a great idea, or you've got a group of friends or partners who've got a great idea, it's easier than ever to start a business online. It's not as expensive, but before you do any of that, do your homework. Knowledge is power. I don't want anybody to end up a sucker because they're trying to create something for themselves and their family. Now, the next milestone, milestone 6, is building wealth. This for me is the fun milestone because this is where you get to dream about the future. Now, it's, you've set that regular habit of putting money aside towards that financial goal. You've applied compound interest, time value of money, and the rule of 72 to understand how that money you set aside is being invested for that future financial goal, for your build wealth piece. Whether it's retirement, your kids' college education, whether it's maybe your daughter's wedding or your wedding, or that vacation home, or maybe that trip that you've been dying to take, whatever it is, start, set that financial goal, set that intention, and start putting the money aside to accomplish that. And then the last milestone is called preserving wealth. You've done all of these great things, and then you get to preserve wealth. And that has to do with getting an estate plan in place. If you don't put an estate plan in place, then how your estate is distributed, who is identified as the guardian of your children, will be decided by the judge in probate court following Georgia law. Now, I'm a Georgia lawyer, and under Georgia law, if you die without a will, this is how your estate is distributed. It is divided equally among your spouse and your children. Your spouse cannot receive less than 1/3. So say you've got 4 children. Your spouse will get 1/3 and your 4 children will divide the other 2/3. I've had instances of young parents with toddlers where now the spouse and their toddler owns the family house. So make sure you get a will in place. I've got a horrific situation I'm working with right now with a foreigner who's come to this country on a visa to work for a company. His wife and children came here on a spouse visa. He died in a tragic car accident. The government kicked the family out of the country. And now we're dealing with the probate. He's got no will. His 2 daughters are under the age of 18. So we have to have court-appointed conservators in the United States to handle the money. And it's not a lot of money. But they've spent so much money on the conservators and all of these extra people you've got to hire in the process to handle the small amount of money for these little girls who are located thousands of miles away. And the family is devastated. I can't tell you whether you're rich or poor, whether you've got children or not, put an estate plan in place. In addition to a will and, identifying the guardian of your children if you've got young children, this is where you're going to identify who you want to make your medical decisions in the event you're not able to. Now, it's important that we have these conversations with our loved ones before we get in a situation where someone is had a devastating, accident or tragedy that's left them unable to make their decisions. So you know exactly what they want happen, and they know what you want to have happen in the event that takes place. Especially with older parents, because I've seen situations where the children end up fighting over what a particular parent may have wanted or grandparent may have wanted because they never had that discussion. And in my mind, the parent or the grandparent, I think, would be so upset if they knew the devastation, the impact it has on a family because they didn't want to bring up that difficult discussion, or they didn't want to think about it, they didn't want to talk about it, so they didn't have the discussion. So it's always better to have it when everybody's healthy, when everybody's lucid, and you know exactly what it is they want. Now, there are other types of documents that can be part of an estate plan. For example, a trust. Now, there are different kinds of trusts, and I get questions a lot about trusts. Um, if you own real estate in more than one state or more than one county, it is preferable, first of all, that you don't own that real estate in your personal name, especially if it's investment property. I recommend clients put it in an LLC. But say you don't have it in an LLC and it's in your personal name and there's a mortgage on it. The lender typically will not let you put it in an LLC after the mortgage is in place. But you can put it in a trust, and the lender is prohibited from not letting you do that. The reason I recommend a trust for real estate is because it's a special kind of asset and it has to be probated in whatever county it's located in. So if you own real estate in Georgia and maybe you own a vacation home in North Carolina, or a lot of my clients do in Florida, by putting that in a trust, because a trust never dies, then your loved ones never have to also do probate in North Carolina or Florida, in addition to doing probate in Georgia. Now, some other reasons for trusts: if you've got a special needs child or grandchild and they're receiving government benefits, if they receive an inheritance, that may make them ineligible for those government benefits. So you create what's called a special needs trust so they can retain their government benefits. Also, if you've got a large estate that may be subject to estate taxes, and that's probably a subject for another conversation because I could go on and on about estate taxes. But if you've got a large estate, meaning a state with more than $10 million, then you are going to seriously need to think about doing some estate tax planning. And one of the ways we do that is with a trust. Also, if you need privacy, wills are public documents. You file them with the probate court. Anybody, including your neighbor, can go to probate court, look up your will. Some people, especially people with a lot of assets, people who may have relatives who are going to get nosy, they put everything in a trust. That document is never filed with probate court. So your nosy neighbors or nosy relatives can't see how you've distributed your estate. Now, one other reason that I've used trusts with clients is with older married couples. If one of the spouses has been diagnosed with a cognitive issue, say they've been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, we put the estate in a trust so that the other spouse is named the trustee and they can continue to make the decisions for all of the property in the estate. And they don't have to worry about having to get the cognitively impaired spouse to sign documents. So we've gone through 3 financial concepts: compound interest, time value of money, rule of 72. We've gone through the 7 money milestones: financial education, proper protection, debt management, emergency fund, cash flow, building wealth, and preserving wealth. knowing those things give you a basis for making your financial decisions on a more informed basis and putting a solid financial plan in place for you and your family. But always do your homework. So, gosh, Tamara, I think I've talked for like an hour. I love this subject.
And you should see how many sticky notes I have in front of me. I was writing and taking notes, and you were dropping jewels today. I have some questions over in the chat. She says, do you operate? She said that she was experiencing that with her mom, something we were talking about earlier, and I believe it was around the insurance part. She said, can you talk about student loan debt, Kim?
Right. So student loan debt is a national problem. It is horrific. Mm-hmm. There are government programs and there are companies that will help you consolidate or negotiate your student loan debt. But what I'll say is there are sham companies out there that just want you to pay them a fee and they really don't benefit you. So do your homework. But there are things that you can do. Typically, there are just a myriad of government programs that can help you reduce or mitigate your student loan debt.
She has another question. She says, with respect to proper protection insurance, are any of these insurances tax deductible?
Okay. So life insurance is tax advantaged. As an individual, you cannot deduct the premium. You pay the premium with your income, after tax income. Mm-hmm. But the death benefit proceeds from a life insurance policy are tax-free. Your beneficiaries receive that $100,000, $500,000, whatever it is in death benefit proceeds, free of taxes. Long-term care, the premium you pay for long-term care is not tax deductible, but you receive those long-term care benefits under the policy, tax-free. Now, under certain circumstances, when a business, a C corporation, pays for key man insurance or a long-term care benefit or other benefits for their executives or their employees, in some instances, the corporation, C corporation, can deduct it from the C corporation's taxes. Mm-hmm. It is tax advantaged, but not necessarily tax deductible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you can see the copy of the book, How Money Works. If you want a copy, Miss Kim has so graciously offered you a free copy of this book. And I like Dawn's comment. We need to come back after the book has been read and have a further discussion. That will be phenomenal. Maybe in about 30 days. Let's get her book.
I would love that.
Yes. Get her book, everybody. Send me go to the website. You go to tamarashealey.com. tamarashealey.com. Go to the website, send me your address, and I'll be sure to get it to Miss Kim, and let's get the copy of this book. I have a copy. I've been through the book, and I've now passed that book on to my son. And I am insisting that he reads it, and he knows that I'm going to be on him about reading it. You dropped so many jewels today when you talk about having that emergency fund. That's number one, because you're right. When things happen, we tend to go into like this mode where, okay, how am I going to pay for this? And that is where you keep getting back in this rat race that you just can't seem to get out of. So having that emergency fund, I was taking notes. One thing that I did in going into 2022, I did how you said number 5, what is coming in. I went through and I'm like, okay, what can go? What can I do without? And I really did a real assessment. And the one thing I got rid of, and I'm so mad at myself, I could just kick myself because I should have done it a long time ago, is to get rid of my cable that I don't watch.
No.
I don't watch television, and I was paying for cable television, and it was a bill that was like so unnecessary. So I got rid of that, and just to see my little cable bill now, my internet, because that's all I'm really paying for. It's like, my gosh, I could kick myself that I didn't get rid of that much sooner.
Yes.
It's the little things. And then when you talked about debt management, it's those little bills that tend to eat you up. So when you talked about getting rid of, with those credit cards, get rid of those little itty bitty bills, those little itty bitty credit cards, get rid of that itty bitty stuff and get it away. You know, that alone just on your psyche, I think is beneficial. So
yes,
all of these jewels that you dropped today were just phenomenal. And yes, we're going to have you back. We're going to get this book, y'all. Go to the website, Tamara Shealey. Send me your address, tamarashealey.com. Send me your address and I will be sure to get it to Miss Kim. And yeah, let's come back and do a part 2 to this. This was phenomenal. You should see these sticky notes. I'm going to keep them.
Good. I would love to come back. It's been wonderful being with you all today. And I just love you, Tamara. Anything you need, you just let me know.
Yes, ma'am. He says, thank you. He's going to send his address. Miss Dawn says, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. Thank you. This was phenomenal. Y'all know what time it is. Tamara Johnson Shealey, y'all. We do this broadcast every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I try to bring you great guests, and she was phenomenal. So thank you for being a guest, Kim. We really appreciate you. And I'm going to, did you freeze? Oh, there you go.
No, I'm here.
So hold on, Miss Kim, and I'll talk to you in the back channel in just a bit. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. Kim, thank you for being my guest today. But hold on. All right, everybody. Same time, same channel. I will see you next week. Go to the website, tamarashealey.com. Make sure you send me your address, and I'll be sure to get it to Miss Kim, and let's get this book and let's get ready for these reparations. Y'all know where I'm going. When these monies are here, we need to know how to manage this. We need to know how to do it. So I was excited to have her as a guest today. But I'll see you guys next week. See you next week, everybody.
When we come to Washington in this campaign, we're coming to get our check. Young prodigies. Grow. Free. Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our paper.
Kicking the door, coming for our 40 acres and more. 6.4 trillion. Miss that no, we fought the Civil War. We came from the poor.
Start from the bottom, we still on the floor. We pray to the Lord.
Amen.
Picking a cotton, our fingers are sore.
Straight out the underground, escaping from slavery. The only cemeteries that we had were the trees. Watching our bodies while they blew in the breeze. Thinking to the north side to get free.
That way came from slavery. Where's on the mirror once it owes me? Put her head on the door, put the werewolf scheme. Stick to the north side to get free.
Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me. Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our
look,
paper.
we taking them back. Putting Pettis Bridge on the map. Police came with the strap. That Sunday was bloody, no cap.
Stop capping.
Speaking of cap,
Kaepernick taking knees at the flag. Where my justice at? We built this nation, better give me them racks. All fat, just imagine a little bit of gasoline. 4 girls got bombed back in 63.
400 years, yeah, we still ain't free. Our rise, we rise, take a knee.
Kaepernick. Reparations, Martin said we coming for our check. Reparations, say it loud, 1, 2, mic check. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Dream, my legacy, you can't stop me.
Coming for our 40 acres, HR 40 and our paper.
We stuck in the trap, with no shoes, trying to pull up bootstraps. Increasing the gap, wealth got bigger, so we had to adapt. Discriminated cause we black, I know it worth more than I know it's a fact. They tryna feel scraps, strike me on board so we can't come back.
30 years ago on April 19, Yusef and Try Raymond Chemical Reed.
If it happened to them, think it happened to me. Screaming out, ready 5 to a free.